Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth Statera podcast. My name's Adrian, and this is my good friend Daniel.
Hey, how's it going?
Daniel's replacing Ross today. He's away on a trip down south, so we just thought we'd do a podcast together and just talk about some different things that interest us and see how we go from there. Daniel and I met through a group philosophy night that we're part of in Consciousness Singularity, a couple of Facebook groups, and been fortunate enough to finally meet and what was that, about only
A few months ago?
Yeah.
3 months ago?
Yeah, something like that. That's right. Yeah. So, very similar to, a lot of other different friends that we have and different subjects that we're interested in. So, we'll talk about some of those subjects today. What do you think? We'll get stuck in and
Let's get going. Yeah.
talk about it. So, I think what we wanted to... maybe we decided we might look at talking about first was travel, and then how that can sort of affect the human experience through education and sort of awareness about other people and issues going on around the world. And maybe Dan, if you could maybe start by talking about a little bit your experiences with traveling and what you've done with that.
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing for traveling was getting started.
Sure.
Getting started is definitely the biggest step. Once you actually break yourself away from what you know and love and what you do on a day-to-day basis, get away from that, then you can kind of start to open up a bit. So my first step was Canada.
Yeah, take yourself out of comfort zone, I think, with that is a big thing, isn't it?
Exactly. You find yourself getting into a routine, day-to-day routine, work, sleep, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you have your regular friends, regular family that you see, and you can do that forever and just be comfortable.
Sure.
Whereas getting away from that and getting yourself to take that first step, definitely the hardest thing, I think.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you went to Canada first, and how long did you spend there?
First step was Vancouver in Canada.
Okay.
I spent 5 months there.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a huge change, but was enough
Sure.
for me to see other ways that I can live.
Yeah.
Other ways that I can live. So
Sure.
then that got me to the next step, which, each step along the way I progressed deeper and deeper into my travels.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
leading on from there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so where did you venture from Vancouver then? Where was your...
After
next
Vancouver, spent a few months there, and I, didn't really work too much. Just tried to enjoy the city as much as possible.
Yeah. Didn't you open up a pie?
A pie business.
Business? Yeah. Cool. Meat pie business?
Meat pies.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, good old Aussies who can't stand being without a pie for a while.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Sure. Found a niche in the market. Thought, hang on, I'm going to try this out.
Well, I figured if I craved a pie that much, I'm sure others do.
Yeah, just spreading the awareness about meat pies. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I went to Calgary and just worked at a bar.
Okay.
Get enough money to fly myself to Montreal.
Yep.
Where I ended up living for a year and a half.
Okay. Yep. Montreal would be a fairly amazing place.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Just one of those cities where you can just be what you want to be.
Yeah,
really.
sure. Yeah.
Open up and just so many artists there. You can just focus on your art.
Yeah.
And not worry too much about the living expenses, because it's not that expensive to live there.
Sure. Okay.
So you can just do what you want.
Yeah. Is it a very libertarian city, is it?
It's kind of got a mixture of all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
It's you got the really strict Quebecois people who, they're not only strict because they want to protect their culture.
Yeah, sure.
They want to protect their French culture and their French heritage, even though they're different to French people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they try to protect that, but then you've got more of the younger generation and the artists who either were born in Montreal or have come to Montreal. There are a lot of people who have come to Montreal.
Yeah, sure.
To do that because they know it's a good hub.
Yeah. No, good. All right.
So, Montreal is very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Very eye-opening to see a city operating in such a way.
Sure.
That it is so different to the way that we live here.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Yeah, sure. Nice. Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of cities that you can go to around the world, you do get that experience. And I guess, yeah, like you said, Vancouver is fairly similar to being anywhere in Australia. So is Toronto, I guess. But I've been fortunate enough to go to Toronto. It was a fantastic city. But Montreal, I didn't get to. But I think, yeah, just having that different cultural setting, you know, can be a real eye-opener for someone, especially growing up in Perth. I think, you know, we're the most isolated city in the world, and it's quite singular the way we look at the world.
Yeah.
There's different points of view, obviously, people that have here, but it's not until you go overseas and experience what other cultures do and live, then it's real opener, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you kind of put yourself into this other environment where there is another culture or another philosophy on life, then once you start to learn that or embed yourself into that, you start to realize that, you know, how the way we live here in Perth is not necessarily the be all end all. You know?
Sure.
I mean,
the cultural relativism. You could describe it, that you think, yeah, hang on, this is maybe the right way to go about it, only because we've grown up this way.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily means it's the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of people get it stuck in their head that
exactly.
It is. Yeah.
How many times have you heard someone say something which could be considered particularly racist, but it's not? It's not meant in a racist way.
Sure.
They would say something that would put down somebody else who's not from here, because they don't speak English properly, or because they think differently. And I mean, people do tend to act like that around here, and they don't realize they're doing it. But it's because they're so focused on their own culture, their own philosophy, that when someone else comes along that's different, they don't understand it.
Sure. And they try and associate themselves, or they feel a need to associate themselves as part of a group, have like a gang mentality almost, like it's us against them.
In a way, yeah.
And then so when someone...
In a way it is.
Well, it is, exactly. Oh, I guess it is, But then when someone, like you said, comes in from an outside source, whether it's a taxi driver from the Middle East or wherever it might be, or an Asian shop owner, and just because it's so different to them, they like to have that thing to sort of help show that they're part of this group of Australians, and we're Australia, and they might find it as a progressive thing, and maybe I shouldn't say progressive, maybe as a thing to help them, but it's actually really stymieing their development, really. Definitely. People who think that way.
Yeah. Agreed, definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's done in ridicule as well.
It is,
So you would laugh at somebody because they're different.
Sure.
When really you should be appreciating the differences.
Yeah,
instead
definitely.
Of ridiculing.
And learning from them.
Yeah.
Learning what the differences are. And, no doubt about it. Yeah. So what stops people from doing that then? You know, maybe that gang mentality thing, pack mentality, but is it fear of
maybe
other
fear
people as well?
That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Probably fear of letting go of, not letting go, but just fear of, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. Accepting another culture.
Yeah, sure.
Fear of letting go of something that you believe is right.
Yeah. You couldn't even call it some sort of doctrine that they have about how to live a life. Yeah. And they don't want to let that go.
We definitely have a very, doctrine is the perfect word to describe what we do here. I mean, I was thinking about the way people go out and get drunk on weekends. I was out the other night. I wasn't drunk. I don't drink, but I was watching people get drunk. Yeah. It is such a strange spiritual ritual.
Yeah, sure.
In a way, you know?
Yeah.
Like we look at other cultures from the past and we say, oh, that's strange the way that they would dance around the fire and do these kind of weird songs and things. But we do equally strange things, and if they were to study us, they would think, what the hell are these people doing, going to these locations and all drinking this strange drink and then they're just letting loose
in an altered state of consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah. What are they doing? It's really weird.
I remember you talked to me about that, I think a few weeks ago when we went camping, and you said I think you might have been talking about your sister even. Yeah. But that was her journey, and that you can almost call it like a spiritual journey, a spiritual path.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way, but I guess it is. Yeah, you're ingesting a liquid that changes your sort of reality, and it takes it to sort of somewhere else.
Yeah, and allows you to remove yourself from your particular life for a moment.
Yeah.
Just drop all the hassles. Yeah. And just focus on the party.
Sure. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So going back to Montreal then. So you spent 18 months there. Yeah. And where did you go to after that? And
Well,
What did you
yeah,
vegetate?
in Montreal, I had a really interesting scenario happen
Okay.
where I felt like I was really starting to get myself away from, Western society, Dan.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I ran out of money, which I mean, didn't just run out of money. I had no money anyway.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I needed to make some money, so I got a job, and I got a really good job,
Okay.
a career kind of job.
Right.
It was for the world's largest PR company.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't mention the name.
That's good.
But it made me realize after 6 months of working for them how much I disagree with capitalism.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And it really propelled me to go on my next leg of the travel.
Sure. Give you some motivation. Yeah. Nice.
So when I quit that job, I then went very quickly through the States, and I headed to Mexico to start it'll be like the stepping stone to get to Latin America and travel through Latin America.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah.
And so then I traveled for a year in Latin America.
Yeah.
And as I traveled, I experienced different types of traveling.
Sure.
So, I mean, there are three major types of travelers around there, I'd say. There's the rich kind of traveler, who go around and spend time in mainly hotels and resorts and all that sort of nonsense. Actually, I didn't experience that one.
Sure.
Then there's the traveller who goes on the backpacking circuit. So all the hostels, hostel to hostel.
Yeah.
Most of them are like Australians, Germans,
Sure.
French,
Swedish.
Yeah. Then you've got the traveller who are the more nomadic type. And they generally have messy dreads, and dressed up in really fancy way, cool clothing, juggle, making crafts and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
And so by the end, I was more like that than any of the other types of travellers. And so I got to experience a bit of a spectrum of types of travelling,
Sure. So you start off more the backpacking type, lifestyle type, and then slowly, as you got more into living in that continent, just progressing into that state where you become more nomadic and
definitely.
I think you can immerse yourself more, can't you?
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Couch surfing allowed me to do that.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. So
sure.
I mean, you start to meet people from different places. You stay in their homes. You learn about their culture.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it makes you realize that people everywhere in the world are lovely.
Yeah, definitely.
There are lovely people everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just such a shame that we just don't get that sort of what's the word? I don't know. That doesn't get portrayed, especially through media.
Yeah.
They like to have the divisions in media that people are different and to be fearful, I guess, of other people. But we've got no need to be at all.
No, absolutely not. Everyone's lovely.
Yeah.
We're all human.
You get the odd prick around, the odd asshole. But that just... I think, the big thing with me was America. Like, before I went to America, I definitely had preconceived notions of what American people were going to be like. Just given, I don't know what, just listen to bullshit media, I suppose, and TV shows and things like that. American people are absolutely lovely. I don't think I met one bad American. Maybe I did. I'm sure I probably did. But
you probably just attracted the nice ones.
Maybe I attracted the nice ones, yeah. And I'm sure there's plenty of bad ones out there. But all in all, I just...
No offense to Americans.
Yeah, no offense to Americans, but they were just amazing.
Yeah.
And just that whole stereotype of being arrogant and loud and all that. I guess, but there's Australians
You
like
were on
that
the
as
West
well.
Coast though, weren't you?
I was on the East Coast as well, yeah.
Okay,
Went to both sides, but they're just really cool people. But the South Americans, I went there for about 5 weeks. South American people are just lovely.
Yeah,
really, really lovely.
And the less into Western culture that they've gotten, because I mean, let's face it, our style of society is forcing itself upon them.
It is,
yeah. And so the less into that they are, the more lovely they are.
Sure.
So the more that have adopted that style of living, the less lovely they are, which is an interesting point to make, I think. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's where they haven't adopted it through our economic input, like, I guess it's colonialism, but with economics now, and they haven't input that. And then with that, going back to your, what you said about capitalism, and you saw the wrongs with it as well. When you go to somewhere like South America, you can really see what's wrong with capitalism, and how, and the same thing happens in Africa as well, but how capitalism really is there to, it really does take away from the people that can afford it the least, they're really sort of forced into slave labor conditions.
It requires it, in fact.
It requires it.
Like,
It's exactly right.
The people who start practicing that philosophy,
Yeah.
they then need the other people to come in as the lower group,
Yeah.
the lower socioeconomic group,
Sure.
so that they can remain strong and powerful and
Yeah.
rich. You know
Have
what I
that
mean?
that real pyramid scheme. It is
You
really,
need a
isn't it?
separation. You need a separation. You can't have this without this.
Yeah.
So that's how these people are kind of sucked in and drawn into it,
Yeah.
without even their choice.
No,
really.
that's right. You know, they'll have like a big multinational corporation come in and say, okay, we're going to put this mine in,
You
you know,
have to
5
work.
kilometers down from, we'll give you roads, we'll give
Yeah.
you schools, you know, we'll give you shops and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to work for it,
You have to
and
work.
you're going to work for next to nothing.
Yeah, we're going to give you a few dollars a day.
Exactly. But then what happens is those people become dependent on that as well.
Yeah.
They become dependent on that. And it happens in, you know, in Indonesia, through Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, through the Solomon Islands and the Pacific Islands. The same thing's happening. And we spoke about Africa as well, but South America too. And yeah, it's a real shame. It really opens your eyes up to the ills of capitalism when
It's
you
like
when you
a
travel there.
disease, isn't it?
It's like a disease, yeah. It's just like entangling
A virus
itself.
that's
Yeah,
spread. Yeah, I think of it as the United States.
sure.
If you imagine the globe, right? You've got England where it kind of started.
Yeah.
You know? Then the United States now is the main hub of
Yeah.
where it comes from. And it's got its tentacles spreading out across the globe.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a big octopus.
Yeah, definitely.
Just leeching off of the world.
Yeah, and the world's people. Yeah, it's the resources and its people.
Yeah.
Well, but sure, you could call people the resources as well.
Yeah.
But there is also an argument for capitalism that it does help progress society as well. It helps drive innovation. It helps drive technology, and I can definitely see how capitalism can help that way. You know, capitalism obviously rewards those who work hardest and come up with the best ideas, whereas socialism and communism don't really do that. So, yes, capitalism definitely has its bad points, but it does have its good points. But either way, we still need to find another method, I
Well,
think.
capitalism definitely is good in theory.
When theory,
Yeah.
when practiced the right way, it
When
can be good. Yeah.
practiced in the right way, yeah. But at the moment, it's not.
No.
I mean, there's way too much greed involved.
Sure.
You know, and just trying to, basing your economic model on growth is completely the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It should be based on sustainability rather than
Sure.
growth.
And not just growth, but uncapped growth, exponential growth.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
just
like-
trying to always make more and more
Yeah.
and more and more. And exponential, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's always a 10% on last year.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
it's just gonna. Where do you stop?
Yeah.
Where do you stop?
Sure.
Whereas if you had an economic, if you used capitalism and had a more sustainable approach,
Yeah.
so instead of trying to grow, trying to reach a point where you're happy with that entity,
Sure.
corporate entity, and maintain it,
hmm
we could find a nice little balance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I don't know if that would be maybe putting a cap on growth. Maybe if you made it like 2% or 3%, or if you just said no, it really depends upon the people living, working in that corporation, how they feel about it.
Yeah.
You know, as what do they call it? I can't remember. There's a country that base a lot of their happiness on a principle based on economics, but it's to do with their happiness.
Okay.
Yeah, emotional happiness.
Okay.
And I think it's a country in Indonesia somewhere. I'm not too sure. I'll have to Google later. But, you know, a lot of people live in, or I say living, maybe they are living in these corporations, but working in these corporations, you know, a lot of them are unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, they're just working for the man, that grind, and they're not really doing anything that's really fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, really, maybe if it's based on the individual and how they feel as part of that collective, and that's how companies, I guess, lost words this morning. What's the word, Daniel?
I'm not quite sure where you're going with this. So.
Yeah, how the companies, I'm keep thinking of progress, but it's not the word I'm thinking
How
of.
they can develop into a more a different approach to their.
It's a really basic word I'm trying to think
okay.
of. I can't think of it. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, we just need to look at a new model to fit inside that, maybe that capitalist
Well,
ideal.
I don't know about finding a new model. I think the people running the companies, I think it'll be a natural progression if we do stick with capitalism, that with this new awakening that's happening, you know, worldwide,
Sure.
that more of they'll adopt more of a love for others, and then hopefully, this is what I would like to see, then you could have an approach towards business where you are helping others rather than helping yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as soon as that gets tweaked in people's minds, then we could start working towards a much better system. So
through ethical, manufacturing and things like that. That's what we really need to look at. But really, a lot of that too comes down to us as well, the consumer.
Yeah,
absolutely. We get the choice to, and there's more and more of those organisations opening up where we can buy, products that have been, come from ethical backgrounds and. But it's just so fucking convenient to go buy an Apple iPhone or whatever. Yeah, just where where it comes from, or that $15 toy for your nephew that is built by some poor kid in China, working amongst chemicals that is going to kill them and take half their years off their life. But I think we need to get more back. I heard once if we get back to that the 1960s and the way the economy was set up then, as far as where products have come from and our growth, etc., and that's probably an ideal. And obviously it wasn't around in the 1960s, but looking back and you see how they did it then, it probably sounds about right. Sort of before a lot of our stuff got sent. And I mean, I guess our products have always been made by the cheapest bidder, haven't they? But it's just getting worse and worse, and it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. And
I'm going to try to take us back again now.
Sure.
So the way that we live here with this kind of a concept and this kind of an idea, we're discussing it now in a fair bit of detail, but then going back to traveling, what's really important about traveling is to be able to remove yourself from it.
Yeah, sure.
So
from this that we've been brought up in this Western society,
remove yourself from this way of thinking, this particular philosophy, and once you can sort of pull yourself out of it, and then embed yourself into a different one, an entirely different one, then you can start to think in quite a different way, and you just get a much broader understanding of just humanity, I guess, and what we are capable of, and what is true and what's not true, and it's hard to explain, but once you can kind of get yourself away from that, you get this
a new appreciation, maybe.
I guess it's an appreciation. It's more of an understanding.
Understanding. I think I wrote down once that traveling, something, I'm paraphrasing my own writing here, but traveling takes you out of the singular reality that you're used to. And we really do grow up, if you stay in the same city, same town, country even, you do have a singular reality, but traveling takes you away from that and breaks down that I wouldn't say barrier, but it breaks down those walls, I guess. The first time I travelled, I was to Europe back in 2005, and the very first experience I had with a different culture was the Dubai airport, which that was it. But the Dubai airport's a hub, it's a lot of airlines flying to there, and I had like a 2-hour stopover, I think it was, in Dubai airport, and I was walking around and just people from all nationalities that I hadn't seen before. I hadn't had the experience of being close up to them, except for obviously seeing them on TV. But that was just even that experience on itself was like, this is what the world's really about. And I really remember thinking, fuck, racism is just bullshit. Racism is just absolute bullshit. I was just talking to different people, and it just made me sort of realise right there and then that people are really cool. It doesn't matter where you're from, we are really just people. I know it sounds like a hippie cliche term, but it really is true. And then going on from that, actually getting into Europe and then travelling around and meeting people from different cultures makes you realise, hey, most people are just nice, friendly people. They just don't want to put up with a lot of bullshit that I myself don't want to put up with, and many of you out there watching this don't want to put up with. And that's what it's really all about. That's why traveling is so important.
It's kind of like you've got this base model of a human.
Sure.
So this is what a human is, and then around the world you'll have different layers put on top of that.
Sure.
And that's kind of like your social standing within your society. And so different societies will gather, and they're just humans who come together under a particular philosophy.
Sure.
And then they practice that.
Sure.
And they then with those layers, they can manipulate those layers if they want to, if they're aware enough to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they kind of just adopt what's around them, you know. And so when you have this agglomeration of humans, and then you can see through their cultural layers, you start to see the human inside people.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All around the world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, do you think things like, I guess, internet and the way that's progressing now, where we can delve into other people's lives in other countries more, do you think that's helping? Can that make up for the experience of not traveling?
No, absolutely not. But it definitely helps.
Yeah.
It helps to get people to open their minds. It helps people to see that there's more out there,
sure.
to actually experience it. I had this conversation with my dad while I was traveling. He didn't quite understand why I was traveling.
Right.
And he said, well, I can see all of that stuff on SBS.
Did he think you were maybe dropping out?
No. He kind of got an idea of what I was doing, but he just didn't really appreciate it.
Right.
And he said, no, everything you do, I can see it on SBS.
Yeah.
I can get just as much knowledge as you're getting as you're traveling. And I said to him, well, this is a bit different. There's knowledge and receiving knowledge. There's understanding it, which I'm sure you are, Dad. But then there's experiencing it. And when you put all those three together, that's when you get like the true experience of something else. Yeah, sure. So I think internet can help give you information and knowledge, but to actually get that experience, I think people need to get going, get out there somewhere. Yeah, sure. Even if it's just in their own backyard. In Australia, for example, go travel around Australia. Yeah, definitely. Go to Asia, it's so close to us, but don't go to the bars and the hotels. Like, get in there.
We don't mean Bali, by the way, but
anywhere, even Bali. Bali's fantastic. Outside of Kuta.
Maybe I should say that outside of Kuta. I haven't been there before, but got no real need to go. But
I mean, just. I think, but if you need the stepping stone to get away from it, then fine,
maybe
go to Kuta.
Yeah.
But then once you get over the whole getting drunk with all the young 19-year-olds from Perth, get out and go and experience Balinese people because they're amazing people.
Go to see what the world has to offer, what the world's people have to offer as well.
Yeah.
Do you think, this might be a generalization, but people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds generally tend to be, I don't even know if I'm saying this right here, but I mean, they're generally unable to afford trips overseas and to do that thing. No, I shouldn't even say they can't do it. Actually, I'm on the wrong path here.
Okay.
I mean, because you can go over there, you can go overseas with next to no money, can't you?
Absolutely.
And do it. There's no excuse really.
Yeah.
But maybe I guess if you do have that bit of money to start off with, it does help. But I've just definitely noticed, and I mean, I grew up in a lower socioeconomic background, so I hope this sort of sways what I'm trying to say. But there definitely is a tendency towards sort of racism and that real just xenophobic sort of look at way people are, and maybe that comes down through sort of lack of travel for those groups.
Maybe, but it might also be the pressures within the society. So if you come from that kind of a group, and I would say I also grew up in maybe not low, but low to middle. Like definitely wasn't
more
rich.
I should say, mate, working class is more of it.
There we go. And I think there's the pressures within society that if you're that kind of a person, I mean, let's face it, we do have class separation here.
Yeah.
And so when you grow up in that, you believe that you can't.
Sure.
You don't have the money to go traveling, or you don't have the means to go and do other things. You have to stay here and do whatever it is that your family and your friends are doing.
Like buy that new jet ski or
that
VAU.
Go work on the mines and make lots of money and then spend it on shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, to go traveling, you really don't need any money at all.
No,
if
true.
you can just afford a ticket out of here.
Yeah.
Even then, you don't even need to get a plane. Get a boat if you can't afford a plane.
Yeah, sure.
Just get somewhere.
Yeah.
Or go hitchhiking around Australia.
Yeah.
It's easy. Anyone can do it. It's accessible to any level.
Sure. So there's really no excuse, is there really? But some people just don't like traveling. I mean, my sister and brother-in-law, they went to Bali last year as their first overseas trip, and they're in their 30s, and they're not really interested in traveling. My parents are very similar.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame. Like, I really would like them to be able to go out and experience the world a bit more, but they're just not into that, and that's why some
Maybe
people are.
They just don't want to be taken out of their comfort zone.
That's very much what it is, yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing, you know. And again, is that a fear thing, or they're just very comfortable in what they're doing? That's fine, you know, that's fine with our, but they're good people, so that's not a problem. But yeah, it would be nice to see them come out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what your parents are like, but I mean, there is also, you don't need to go traveling if you can already gain a greater understanding through like self-exploration.
Sure.
So if you're really on top of that, then traveling isn't necessary. I think the biggest thing I got out of travel was self-exploration.
Sure.
So once you then take yourself out, embed yourself in other cultures all around the place, and then you find that you adopt different personalities in different places, but they all have the base. Like for me, there's still Dan.
Yeah.
I was still Dan everywhere I went.
Yeah.
But I was slightly different Dan in each place.
Sure.
And then so that allowed me to then have this self-inflection where I can look at myself in different perspectives.
Sure.
And so then I got to learn, by doing that, I got to learn about my home. I got to learn about my friends and my family. I got to learn about human experience in general. And so traveling was very important for me to get to that. But if you can take other means to get to that, that's just as valid.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe meditation, you can do it through meditation, or
you can do it through meditation.
Psychedelics, or
Absolutely.
whatever it might be.
I was just about to bring that one up.
Yeah. I think traveling is just another means for it, but you know, in a perfect world, you do all of that. You know, you encompass all of those experiences.
Absolutely.
Become a more complete person.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
So
I mean, humans were nomadic before.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's. I mean, we must still have it inside us. It wasn't that long ago, really, if you think about it, the scheme of things.
What city living is really a new thing about in our society. Yeah. Definitely.
So we're still well equipped to be nomadic.
Yeah.
I think.
I think we're still trying to catch up to how we're supposed to act in a city living, you know?
Yeah,
we
haven't
definitely,
figured that out yet.
We haven't figured that out. We've become very isolated within these cities, you know, just even going back to not saying hello to people and things like that. That's how we've become. That's not who we truly are. I mean, you go out to the country and, you know, you might bump into someone there and, hey, how you going? You talk. And I mean, even just when you're driving down in the country in the southwest somewhere, you wave to someone, or you're on a motor, like, you know, get out on the motorbike, you always give someone a nod, you know, but you don't do that around the city, you know, and
people might think you're strange.
Yeah, exactly. What are you nodding at me for? But it's the way we should be, and that's really who we truly are. But city living has unfortunately sort of separated us from that collective humanity that we are.
Like you're saying, we're still learning. So
we're still learning,
So
we're still trying to catch up.
Yeah, I have faith.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, so do I.
A lot of faith. I really believe that we're going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And I believe that's going to happen fairly soon if we can beat, you know, the clock. So we're racing against some pretty evil things. Yeah. You know, so if we can beat the clock to that kind of enlightenment, then we can live very well in the city, and the city is a great way to do it, you know?
They are. I mean, cities as a concept are fantastic, you know, especially from an environmental standpoint. You know, you're not sort of reaching out and wrecking the environment, you know. You're sort of grouping people together where it has less of an impact, but just our sort of a humanity gets lost in that sometimes. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Cities and these mega cities as well, especially. But what fantastic places to visit. Like New York is still, and Berlin are probably my two favourite cities. As much as I love the country and I love being in the country and I love my time in South America as well, I did mine a bit differently to yours, Dan. Mine was more of the backpacker hostel thing, but and over about 6 weeks. But my two favourite cities and two favourite places to visit, probably Berlin and New York, two of the largest cities in the world. They're just fantastic.
What did you like about New York? Because I've spent a fair bit of time in New York, and I've got things I like and things I hate. I saw a lot in New York.
Well, that's one of the things I liked about it, that there was so much of the like and the hate. But I spent most of my time in Manhattan, an island of 8 million people, and I think it's just the cosmopolitan aspect of it. To me, it was as close to a utopian society as you could get on this earth, where there was just people from all different cultures, or from all around the world, living together in pretty much harmony.
Utopia is a strong word.
It is a strong word.
In what aspect. I mean,
it's as close to, not that it is utopian, but it's as close to utopian as we have on Earth, I believe. Yeah. Just from other places that I've been to, and you know, just through, like I said, just really through how people interact and get along in Manhattan.
I found the opposite.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I saw a lot of good things, and I really like the fact that there are lots of subcultures within there, and I'm talking it's like an explosion. I mean, every single subculture you can think of is in its extremity there. Yeah. But I found it just there was so many people clashing. Like there are just so many different things that they don't quite gel. I found a lot of aggression there. People beeping horns all the time and shouting at each other out of the like here in Perth, out of the car windows.
But you go to Spain. I got a real shock when I went to Spain and how prevalent that is. How angry they are with each other. And,
really?
Yeah, and the cars always honking horns, and it's really, really bad. Yeah. Okay. But New York is very similar to that too.
But then also New York, I find, even though on a higher level, I know they have some very good practices, sustainable practices, and looking after the environment in terms of electricity production, things like that.
And they keep out companies like Walmart, like they don't have any of that sort of thing. There's in Manhattan especially, they have a lot of fresh produce and places where you can go to independent stores.
So they've got that, which is a positive, but then on the negative side, I think the people there don't get it. You know how many fur jackets and fur coats I saw? Yeah. And people driving around in these ridiculous over-the-top cars. Sure. You know,
SUVs and all that.
Oh, also not even little sports cars that are probably like $2 million for a car. You know. Yeah. And they just don't get it. Sure. They don't get it. They live in their own little bubbles. Yeah. And they just, that's all that really matters to them. So that I don't think is a you know, in terms of actual human experience, I think that is a detrimental thing. Sure. To have yourself so closed off, and you're able to just live within your own little bubble, and that nothing else matters. Yeah. I think that's detrimental to humanity.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. So, but in New York, I mean, that is one part of society, but there are other parts that are quite open-minded, and it's a very democratic, sort of liberal city, New York as well. But I mean, obviously, it's based a lot on our finance, really, isn't it? Yeah. New York, and obviously with that comes the money and the wealth and the greed and the power and those people driving around 2 million cars.
You've got everything, don't you? Yeah. And it's always in the extremes. Sure. But you've also got the extremely open people too. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't
that a great thing about the human experience though? And that's what really differentiates us from other animals as well, is that in one group of animal you have such varying ways of aspects of the way people look at their life and in life in general. Yeah. There's nothing else like that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. Well, I've got an idea about that. I think it's to do with the fact that we no longer have to worry about our survival. Yeah. So as soon as the species is able to not have to worry about survival, it can then start building this concept of living.
Sure. You know? Would it in whichever way it suits them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, at first it would have been more about whatever suits everyone. Sure. You know, and now it seems to be more about what suits yourself.
Yeah. Because we don't have to group together to, you know, ward off just in case that Neanderthal group comes and wants to try and attack us.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about that. We've got a city to protect us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. We don't have to worry about lions
or other people in the city.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which is such a minor thing anyway, really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Daniel, that, you know, we don't have to worry about ourselves individually as much anymore. Yeah. And we've got more of a freedom to live a life the way we choose to live it and express it. And for some people that can be in a good ethical way, for some people that can be in a sort of a debaucherous way.
Provides them a platform to go about their little day-to-day bad naughty things.
Sure, yeah. Especially living in a city too. Yeah. That becomes a lot easier.
We all have our little naughty things that we get on and do within cities. I mean, I do.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you do. We all have little.
No, I'm perfect, Daniel.
You're perfect.
I don't do anything like that.
Crystal clean.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
According to which philosophy, though?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure some of the things you do that you could get arrested for and put into jail, according to our society.
Yeah.
Whereas you could go to another part of the world and you'd be absolutely fine to do it.
Yeah. So that's another interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, just depending on whereabouts in the world you are and whether there's legality or not.
Practice.
Yeah. Based on a cultural belief, really, is it?
That's all it is.
Yeah. We should we talk a bit about the bailing experience down there?
Absolutely.
Spoke about with Ross as well, but Daniel and I went down south and we did shrooms together, and it was the first time I'd done shrooms, and I really couldn't get over how they were illegal. I even understood as a concept, that it's ridiculous how they're illegal, but when I actually been under the influence of psilocybin and just a wondrous joy.
It's amazing, incredible.
And the clarity that you and I had, and just the things that we were sort of coming up with, thoughts that we come up with. Everyone should have that ability to be able to experience that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
they can't because it's illegal. And then because of that, the broader society puts this bad connotation on magic mushrooms.
You know why though?
Well, I personally believe it's because they don't want us to experience that and become more open-minded and rail against a system that has become so evident.
Well, when you say they, I tend to use that word as well, but I don't think there is a they that's necessarily thinking that way. It's more of society as a whole. So our society has a particular way of thinking and a way of working. It's very functional. You get to work, you do what you have to do, then you can go and, get drunk or relax or whatever's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
But to have your to experience an altered state of consciousness is quite contradictory to our way of living.
The way our society works at the moment.
So it wouldn't make sense to allow expanded consciousness within our society.
Yeah.
I mean, we can evolve to have a new philosophy and a new society that we can then incorporate that into, but currently that's why it's illegal. Sure.
So I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that instead of, there's that conspiratory aspect of people would view there's a ruling elite sort of overshadowing. If you can look at society as like a sphere, if they're ruling over it. But
I'm sure there is though, but
But quite possibly there is. But you can also look at it from a point of view that this society as a sphere works as a part of symbiosis,
a self-sustainable
exactly right. And we found a mode of living at the moment that works and keeps this society progressing and running, and to little not so much to the detriment to ourselves, but psychedelics put a spanner in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It can break down the fabric of society. As we know it. Not necessarily as other people know it.
Yeah.
They may have embraced it right from the start. Yeah. And have built their society upon that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I think. Oh, sorry, go.
Yeah. So here, all I was going to say is just that's why. Yeah. That's why it can't work here.
Sure. Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think, I can see that too. I think the problem with the way our society, the main problem with the way our society runs at the moment is, obviously we spoke a little bit earlier about people that are born into less fortunate circumstances than us are usually the ones that have taken advantage of. But the other side of that too is the environment, and that really is the way our economic setup, our societal setup is ran at the moment. Our economy, our environment really suffers. I think what psychedelics can do is really change that way society is ran and produces itself, which is more in keeping with helping the environment and being part of the environment, and really using the environment to our benefit, but also allowing the environment to help us as well as a species
to live more in line with what's around us.
Exactly right.
I believe psychedelics need to be introduced to the general public. Sure. It needs to come into the general awareness.
It does, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's slowly getting there though, isn't it, Daniel? You look at like MAPS over in America, where they're starting to hold conferences now as well. It's an acronym for multidisciplinary something psychedelic something. Just Google MAPS. They're doing a lot of good work, a lot of good research into psychedelics and their benefits, especially with MDMA and how that helps. So not just psychedelics, but drugs, I should say. How MDMA can help depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome.
MDMA can be grouped under psychedelics.
I guess it could.
Yeah. It's I forget the full proper chemical name for it, but it's classed as a psychedelic.
Yeah, sure. And I guess that's the real benefit of traveling, isn't it? You know, going back to traveling again, you do get more of an opportunity to experience those things. And
for sure.
You know, when you're in South America, you got those opportunities, and which might not necessarily been given to you if you were still living in Perth.
Definitely wouldn't have at that time. Yeah. But being down there and being, you know, allowing yourself to just go with the flow, you do tend to find yourself experiencing some things that you definitely wouldn't have in Perth. Yeah. Like, for example, ayahuasca. Sure. I mean, getting into that experience was just an entirely different realm altogether. So, I mean... Yeah. So travelling took you out of your reality to a certain point. Yeah. But then ayahuasca just smashed it to pieces and sent you to a different one. Yeah. Quite an interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah. I'll just quickly say for anyone that might be watching this, so Ross and I do want to do a podcast on our experiences with ayahuasca, but we're going to wait just a little bit longer, and probably in another couple of weeks we'll do it. And I'm still, I have to admit, I've only just started getting over it. Like, it was 3 weeks ago, I think, maybe 4, that Ross and I did it, and I've only started feeling sort of right, I guess is the word. Right. Maybe back to comfortable. Back to where I was. I've definitely changed. It's something that's definitely changed in me. There's no doubt about it. I wouldn't say I was destroyed, but I was separated, and I was shown what I needed to be shown, then I was put back together again. But that getting put back together again, I thought might take 2 or 3 days. It took about weeks. It took about a good 3 weeks. I had something similar. My first 2 experiences were within a week of each other. Okay. After that, it took me at least 2 weeks to. Yeah. I'm still going through it, you know, in my mind, learning from it. How long ago was it you did it? A year and a bit. Okay. A year and a half now. Sure. Yeah. But you're still learning. You constantly learn. Yeah. You'll probably find in a year's time, you'll look back with all the experience you've built up over that year. You look back at your experience then, and you'll understand it in a different light. Sure. And you just go, you get those moments of clarity again where you just go, okay. Yeah. Well, that's something actually I wanted to ask you about. Sort of as the ceremony was finishing off, I kept getting all these little epiphanies and little bits of knowledge. Now, the most important things that came out of the ceremony I can remember quite vividly, but I just remember all these smaller things. I should say I remember thinking about these small things, but I cannot remember what they were. I cannot remember what. I remember just thinking constantly one after the other. I was like, oh right, that's really how that works, or really that's why people behave that way. Yeah. I can't remember what any of them were. But did you have the same experience? Yeah. And you don't need to remember them all. I don't. Well, they're going to be in here somewhere, or wherever thoughts come from. And knowledge would be based on top of that. So it helped you at that time. Yeah. And it's still helping you now to help get more knowledge on top of that. Yeah. Exactly. But do you get now how, like you're saying, even 18 months later, you still get things come to you? I mean, any of those things come to you? Were they things that you experienced or learnt while under Aya? It's hard to say because the way it is presented is in a different way. So you kind of have to view that with a different perception of reality. Sure. So to try to understand it with our perception of reality is impossible. So to then try to translate it. You know what I mean? I know it takes a lot of time to do that. Yeah. And it takes a lot of understanding to do that. Sure. You can't do that straight away. Yeah. So it's hard to answer that question. It's like translating it, isn't it? Yeah. Translating into how you could understand it and sort of describe it to other people. Yeah. Yeah. Can I go back to the mushrooms just briefly? Yeah, go for it. I was researching something recently. Going back to the legality of these mushrooms. Mm-hmm. And how ridiculous that is. The toxicity levels of psilocybin toxicity is so low in psilocybin. You can't really overdose from them, can you? You can, but you would have to have some roughly of fresh ones. You'd have to have something like 16 kilos of it. Right, for an average person, you mean? Yeah, for an average person, 16 kilos of mushrooms. That's a lot of mushrooms, man. I dare someone to try to eat 16 kilos of anything. Yeah. But it's about 1.5 times that of caffeine. So you could die of caffeine way before you die of mushrooms. Yeah. Even worse than that is nicotine. Yeah. I don't know the exact number here, but within one leaf of a tobacco leaf, of some species of tobacco, have enough nicotine to kill you a couple of times.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
So, I mean, that's poisonous.
Yeah.
Really poisonous.
Yeah.
Psilocybin is so harmless.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't cause you any physical damage.
No.
Maybe psychologically it could, but only if you are just so attached to your little bubble.
Yeah. You let ego try and dominate and take over him.
I mean, it's
or if you're slightly unhinged as well in the first place.
Yeah. Well, if you imagine some people with real narrow minds, you know, who have just lived this like this and nothing else, right? And then you just sort of take a sledgehammer and just smash that to pieces and show them something else, that could cause a bit of a breakdown.
They just freak the fuck out.
But I mean, with the right guidance, if you have someone who understands that psychedelic realm, can then guide you through that, there is no chance of psychological problems. You know what I mean?
Exactly right, Daniel. And right there is the problem, is because of the illegality, there's nowhere people can go and say, listen, I want to experience this. Exactly. Go to see someone who's got experience with it. No, it doesn't have to be a shaman or a medicine man or anything like that. Just someone who's got experience and say, okay, that's fine. If you want to do it with a group of friends, okay, get 4 or 5 together. We'll come around, we'll make a time, we'll make a date. We'll take some mushrooms. I'll oversee everything. I'll make sure everything's okay. I'll make sure you're okay. And that would be the perfect way to do mushrooms. But instead, a lot of people take mushrooms and they'll be, you know, playing on the Xbox or whatever, or just some really
running
stupid.
Around the city.
Running around the city.
On a Saturday night, just tripping on 2CI.
Oh, really? Yeah, right. Okay.
I mean, which is fairly related to psilocybin.
Sure.
But I mean, it's just such a wrong kind of setting to be doing it.
Yeah, well, especially for kids. I mean, you and I are a bit older. You know, we're in our. I'm 32, and how old are you?
I'm 30.
30, yeah. So we've got more of a sort of understanding of who we are, and you know. But I can imagine when I was 17, 18, having the opportunity to that. But let's do it. But
well, I've when I did the ayahuasca, the ceremony was done. One of the guys brought his son along. And his son's been doing it for a long time now. Yeah. And he's only 7.
Oh, really? Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and he actually, I could see him embracing it in a way that I guess adults could not.
Sure.
Because he is still not quite attached to this little bubble that's been created, you know.
Right.
So he's still quite open.
Yeah.
And I think younger people will generally accept it, are more willing to accept it and more willing to appreciate it than adults, that's for sure.
Because they haven't been closed off.
But then you have to be careful because you don't want kids running around the city.
No, that's right.
Tripping balls.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Dangerous. It's dangerous for their minds.
You see a lot of, though, unfortunately, kids drunk and sniffing glue and things like that. So
that's awful.
What would you rather? But I mean, even still, if it's in a setting like the jungle somewhere where it's got, you know, the proper protocols and right ceremonial structure, then it can only see it as being beneficial. The guy I'm going to Peru in November, and the guy who I'm doing it with there, his son is 10, and he also does it. Does it as well. And I mean, I reckon maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I would have looked at that and gone, oh,
terrible! How could you put your kid into this?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. How dare you? What kind of father is he? But now I definitely have a better understanding just through my own delving into these subjects and actually researching them properly, and actually deciding for myself, you know, what these substances are all about, these medicines are all about, rather than relying on the media to tell me what they're about.
We're not condoning giving drugs to your kids.
Exactly.
But maybe just be a bit lenient if you're one of those strict conservative kind of people.
Sure.
But we're not condoning anything. I'm not telling you.
Well, I admit, even from when I first started smoking marijuana about 15, 16, how much that helped me to develop my awareness about society and other people. I unfortunately got to the stage where I started abusing it, maybe when I was in my early 20s. But that initial stages of marijuana was a real opener for me, and I'm grateful that I did it, you know. Yeah. And my parents were definitely more very conservative when it comes to drugs, and they weren't too happy about it. But I needed it, for my own development. That's very important.
Got you to where you are now, right?
Got me to where I am now.
Absolutely.
I'm just unfortunate I got to that stage. That's maybe what we need to try and help out, though, do with Daniel, with not just us two, but obviously, you know, society in general, is help kids that do want to do that from going too far and doing what I did. I know Rossi's spoken about it before as well, got to the stage where he started abusing it rather than using it.
It's a lot worse than that now, though. I mean, you've got drugs like that are very harmless and in fact mind opening and could be used in a very good way,
sure,
are illegal.
Yeah.
So then you've got these other drugs, designer drugs coming in,
Yeah.
and all these ones that have been manufactured,
Yeah.
that have not been tested for a start.
Sure.
They're not natural, so we don't know how they react with humans. And then you got kids who want to experience this. I mean, let's face it, everyone has this feeling, like this urge to explore.
Yeah,
that,
we are explorers as human beings.
Why do you think people get drunk all the time? Why do you think people like to experience these things? Is because it's part of us. It's like an embedded nature of us to do that.
I think we'd like to test ourselves as well.
Yeah,
we like to test ourselves, how far we can take it.
Yeah, exactly. So with that in mind as well, I mean, you create within Perth and within Australia, you create this abusive relationship with drugs that are not natural.
Sure.
And so they're taking things like crack, ice, or crystal meth, and all things like that, and heroin, which is extracted from from its natural form. It's extracted and made really strong.
Sure.
That sort of shit shouldn't be on.
No.
But I really truly believe the way to fix all of the problems within Australia, the drug problems, is to legalise the natural ones.
Yeah.
Because
very much so.
I mean, I won't give any names, but a close friend of mine has a pretty strong addiction to crystal meth. And when he then experienced mushrooms, he kind of got this realization of what the crystal meth is doing to him,
right,
to his body, to his mind, and now he's just stopped.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, he went round his mate's house and they were all smoking it and offering it to him, and he said, no thanks.
Yeah, sure.
And that's a big thing for a crystal meth user to do, because it draws you in, the addiction is so strong.
Yeah.
And so if mushrooms have the capability of taking someone away from something so harmful, how can that be illegal? Why is it illegal? It shouldn't be. It should be completely illegal, and it'll fix all of those problems. Yeah,
as long as it's done in the right setting. Again,
absolutely. Yeah.
With someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with you. And going back to other natural medicines with ayahuasca, we were talking about earlier, but also ibogaine that you can use in South America as well. Both of those medicines are used to treat addicts, drug addicts. Whatever type of harmful chemical they're on. The ones we just described: heroin, crack, meth, etc. It's very important. It is helping people. It doesn't help 100% of people, but I think there is quite a high rate of sort of recovery, I guess. Just helps people understand a bit better how detrimental it is and how important their bodies are and their brains are to their human experience.
And the way that it does work is it's so powerful because it's your mind telling itself, in a way. Yeah. It's like you're having this little internal kind of loop and feedback into your mind where you can see exactly what is happening down there.
Sure.
And to be face to face with that and to realize that you're doing something dramatically wrong to your body and mind, that is profound.
Yeah, it is.
That is
definitely
seriously profound.
Yeah.
Once you get that realization, how could you go back to living an abusive relationship with a particular substance?
Yeah, definitely.
Once you have that realization, it's powerful.
Yeah, you can really even put alcohol under that term of a destructive drug, and nicotine, tobacco as well. Yeah. And it just boggles the mind how alcohol and tobacco can be legal when mushrooms and ayahuasca are classified as Class A drugs. It's ridiculous. I mean, if I had a child and they got to sort of 15, 16 and they said, I want to take up smoking, or I want to get smashed, go binge drinking, I'd really rather them have the opportunity to take mushrooms instead.
Agree.
Without a doubt.
Me too.
Without a doubt. Yeah. But they can't.
They'll go to jail for it, or you might go to jail for it.
Well, I might go to jail for it, So what do we need to do though, Daniel? How do we
keep going?
We need to spread the awareness, I guess, and spread the educational aspect of it.
I think it's not so much about trying to spread the word and spread the education. It's about living by example. Sure. Just do what you need to do. Yeah. And then other people will just, they might see you having this amazing epiphanies and just being really centered and calm, and they'll notice a change in you. And they might be interested to explore. Yeah. And that's how the awareness can spread. And then once the awareness does spread, once there is a greater what's the right word, like acceptance of these things, then the laws can change, because the laws only really reflect what the society thinks.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
exactly
as
right.
much as we like to blame the people who put the laws into place, they do have different agendas, of course they do.
Sure.
But ultimately it's us who have the power, not them. So we can change absolutely anything within our society just by spreading a particular way of thinking.
Just by doing,
Exactly.
I think we can just do anyway, really, even with the illegality of it. There's nothing to really stop us from being able to do it. You know, there's definitely avenues you can use, and plenty. It is so widely available. Drugs are so widely available that there is really no excuse. If you wanted to journey and experience it, then you can.
They're not just widely available, they're widely available in nature around us.
In nature around us, exactly right.
I mean, I can't give locations, exact locations, but you can just go anywhere around Perth, and there are a range of different mushrooms that grow even within Perth. You know, you can just go for a 10-minute drive and get some. So I think the most important thing is, if you are doing something illegal, not to take it to that next step and become a dealer, essentially.
Sure.
You don't want to make it make profit from these things. You don't want to combine this open mind, amazing, powerful tool with capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you don't want to combine them. You want to keep them quite separate.
Yeah.
And then that way the law won't touch you.
No.
You know, if you're just a user who goes down to the park, picks a few mushrooms and eats them with you yourself and your mates in a secluded setting.
Sure.
No one's going to harm you.
Yeah.
If you come back with truckloads of mushrooms, trying to sell it to your friends and family, trying to make profit from it, then you're going to get yourself in trouble.
But that's the unfortunate thing though too, like you and I had that experience where we found a fair few and we just wanted to bring some back, which we did. We just brought some back for our friends.
Yeah.
But we had enough to really get us in trouble. You know?
Yeah, we did. I mean...
But which is ridiculous. We didn't even want to make a profit out of it, or it's just really to help. It sounds... I don't know. It doesn't sound... I'm not just trying to sound... This might come out maybe the wrong way, but we're just to help people, I guess. Help our friends and allow them to experience as well. But I think a lot of our friends that we're doing this with also have had experience with it anyway. So there's nothing really new to them, but... You know, we weren't after a profit, or we just want to help spread the good vibes.
Sharing is caring.
Exactly, yeah.
That's for sure.
So but you know, like you said, I think if we can just keep doing it and lead by example, and sounds a bit douchey, doesn't it? But
it does, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, it is. I think.
You know,
yeah. All right. What do you reckon, Daniel? We might wrap up from there.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think it's been a pretty good podcast.
Great chat.
Well, definitely. I mean, Ross and I have spoken a lot of times, and to you as well, about getting you in with us, and we'll definitely make a time one day where you come and speak to Ross as well. Have the three of us, have the whole trilogue thing going on, and but you know, I'm sure we'll do this again, just the two of us as well, and sort out from there. Anything else you'd like to add, or
no? No. I'm pretty happy with what happened.
Pretty content with that?
Yeah,
cool.
Good.
All right, excellent, man. All right, well, thanks anyone for who was watching out there, and again, any feedback that you have and want to put forward to do with any of the subjects that we're discussing is greatly appreciated. Ross and I definitely have had some really great feedback from the 3 podcasts we've done so far, and it's obviously. It's good to know it's sort of helped other people, even in a small way, but it's helped us as well, which has been fantastic. And we'll keep going with them, I'm sure. Like I said, the next time we're going to look at doing Ross and I about our experience as well. Ayahuasca is certainly an incredible experience, and something that we need to get the awareness of this valuable medicine, I would call it. It is fairly valuable. So we're
invaluable.
We're invaluable, yeah, exactly, yeah. And so we'll sort that out in the near future, I'm sure. But anyway, till then, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Cool. Well done, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It was really
good.
Yeah. I'll upload it later, and when you get a chance, check it out.
Yeah, well.
Stop.
Probably have to rush off to work now. How much time?